Today we're talking about this guy. This is the newest camera from Insta360, and this is the Insta360 GO 3S in midnight black. And I think this color just looks absolutely incredible, and it really adds to the stealth factor of this camera. Now in this video specifically, I want to cover how you can use this camera to film a bunch of different types of POV videos. Now for those of you that don't know what POV stands for, POV means point of view, meaning that you can capture videos with this that really showcase your life and your adventures from your perspective, literally how you see it through your own eyes. Now before we dive into that, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, didn't Insta360 just release the GO 3? Well, they did, but this is the actual camera in the GO series that we've been waiting for, and that's because the Insta360 GO 3S has one very specific feature that we've been begging Insta360 for forever, and that's 4K video. For a long time, I've wanted to use the GO series cameras from Insta360 because they provide such a unique perspective, literally the whole point of this video. But the one thing holding me back was the video quality. Before this, you couldn't film in 4K, and so while the camera looked fun, the lack of quality really held me back from adding this to my arsenal. But finally, with that limitation removed, I have no hesitancy about using this camera in my workflow to get awesome looking perspectives. Another cool feature that Insta360 added, because this camera is so small, especially when you take it out of the pod, you'll see just how small the actual camera piece is. They added Apple Find My, meaning that if you lose this camera for whatever reason, you can find it just how you can find your iPad, your Apple Watch, your AirPods, or any Apple device using Apple Find My, which I think is super convenient. Insta360 has also corrected the distortion on Mega View. So Mega View is the widest field of view that you can get on this camera, and now it has less distortion around the edges, meaning that you can get the widest shot possible and still make it look super normal, which is awesome for most people's workflows because they don't want that whole fisheye effect. Now, if this is the first Insta360 GO type of camera that you're exposed to, then you might not know this camera is actually magnetic. So this little piece that comes out of the pod, which is the actual camera that you want to be using when recording almost 90% of the time with this, in my opinion, is magnetic. So you can stick it to any metal surface or get it in some pretty interesting spots using the different mounts that we have, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, this thing just clips on anywhere, wherever you can find metal. Now in this video, we're gonna do a deep dive on my 3 favorite style of POV shots that you can get with this camera. And obviously the last one is my favorite, so I am gonna leave it for the end. So if you're interested in that one just specifically, I'll have chapter markers at the bottom so you can skip ahead. But I recommend you check out all of them because they're all dope. Now in terms of settings, I will have a different video on that, like I always do on every single camera, for what you need to dial in to get the best video quality out of the GO 3S. But for now, I would just leave everything the way it is out of the box, because actually not that bad with this camera. Now if you purchase the full kit, then you probably got this magnetic pendant with it, and this has always been one of my favorite ways to use the GO cameras. It was actually what intrigued me about the camera the very first time I saw the first version of this. Now this is a magnetic pendant. So basically what you want to do is you want to grab the camera out of the pod and you just stick it onto the pendant, and now you have a really cool POV perspective of what you're doing and just moving around in your daily life. Now here's a pro tip. A lot of people will leave the camera just dangling on their chest, and as you can see, the pendant is going to start to move around if I start swaying a lot. Right? So you can hopefully see that move. I don't have a lot of space to move in here. So what you actually want to do is you want to take this camera off, you want to tuck the pendant inside of your shirt, and now you want to clip the camera on top. So the shirt acts like a locking mechanism and make sure that the camera is not going to slide around anywhere, just because you have something in between the magnetic pendant and the camera. Now you can get a really true to life, cool perspective POV shots, and the best part about this one, in my opinion, is that you can use both hands. So this is where you get those videos of people basically taking a video with their phone with both hands, or a camera, or doing any kind of cool activity with 2 hands. This is how they have their hands free, or actually one of the ways, but for me, this is honestly the easiest. Now, if you want to record vertical video using this mount, obviously leave the camera vertically. If you want to record horizontally, you want to take this off and you want to stick it off horizontally. If you're unsure, I would record in the horizontal mode And then if you want to use it for both horizontal and vertical purposes, you can crop into the video because horizontal can be used for both purposes. Obviously you lose some of the sides, but that's fine, we'll live with that. And now because this camera is in 4K, you're able to crop in more without losing as much quality. Now I love this angle and this mount so much because it's so unobtrusive, especially with the new midnight black color. If you wear a black or a gray t-shirt, it almost blends in and people might not even have any idea that you're recording them. Obviously always record people with their consent, but if you're just going about your daily life and you're walking around and you're doing something in public and you don't want people staring at you, this is one of the most incognito cameras and one of the best perspectives that you can get, because you'll still be able to do things with two hands like I mentioned earlier, and people will probably have no idea that you're recording yourself. And that's why I absolutely love this POV shot, and I definitely think that you should try it out if you get the Go 3S. Okay, moving on to our second type of POV shots that you should be doing with the Insta360 GO 3S. Now you might have noticed something on my hat, and this is the hat mount from Insta360. And again, if you bought the whole bundle, then you also should have gotten this in the box. And this is my second favorite way to use POV shots with the Insta360 GO 3S. Now, like everything else with the Insta360 GO 3S universe, it is a magnetic mount. So you simply grab the camera and you pop it in and it attaches magnetically. So it's definitely not going anywhere. Now, there are three main differences between this and the pendant mount that you need to take into account. First of all, you obviously need a hat in order to be able to use this mount. So if you don't have a hat, go buy a hat, you're gonna need it for this. Secondly, you can only record horizontally because of the way the mount attaches. So you can't record just vertical video. So that is something to keep in mind if you're doing mainly vertical video and you wanna maintain the highest quality possible when recording. Now the third and the biggest difference is that usually whenever you use the magnetic mount with the pendant, is your body moves along with your chest, right? So meaning that if I'm looking around but my chest is not moving, the camera angle is gonna be pretty boring and it's not gonna be really moving. So the biggest difference with the hat mount is that the hat is now basically like a swivel on your head. So anywhere you look or you're interested in looking, the camera's gonna follow you. So this is the truest to life POV shot that you can get with any action camera that's out there, to my knowledge, in my personal opinion. And this is amazing. I obviously have to keep pulling my hat up because this hat's a little loose and the camera's weighing it down, and I've also got the microphone in here. But if you do like intense sports where you're allowed to wear a hat, so like maybe you're playing tennis or pickleball or golf, this is going to be the best view that you can get, and beach volleyball, just remember that one. This is gonna be the best view that you can get and the most immersive action shots that you're ever gonna see whenever you're playing sports. And I think this mount is absolutely brilliant for that. Honestly, before making this video, I never realized how epic POV shots are and how much they immerse the viewer in the video that they're watching, sort of like an epic voiceover. And speaking of epic voiceovers, that does bring us to today's video sponsor, and that is Artlist. Huge shout out to Artlist for sponsoring today's video. Now, I'm not gonna give you the usual spiel that I do about Artlist, and that's because they're launching a new feature called Voiceover, which honestly might be my favorite feature that they've ever released. So if you're someone who hates the sound of their own voice and hates doing voiceovers, or just think that you don't sound cool enough and you need to go out and hire a voiceover artist anytime you need some kind of cool intro or someone saying something in a cool way, well, that's all in the past now, because with Artlist's new feature, Voiceover, you can literally go into their library of voices. So they literally have a catalog of different sounding voices. You can select the one that you want, and then you simply type out what you want that voice to say, and then you hit generate. And I'm not kidding, the results come out in literally seconds. This is not like those other tools where you have to wait 20-30 minutes for something to be spit out from the software. Artlist does this instantly, and the voices and the way that they pronounce words and the way they communicate sentences is so natural. It sounds like a real person is saying them, which absolutely blew my mind, and I honestly could not believe how good the results were.
Artlist is the #1 place to get all of your sounds, music, stock footage, templates, and now even voiceovers. Subscribe today to Artlist and get 2 months free using the link in my description.
Now, I don't know about you, but I would never be able to tell that that voice wasn't generated by a real person. Honestly, it doesn't sound robotic or unnatural at all, which is just absolutely incredible. And the fact that you can just do it from your computer just by typing a few words now is absolutely amazing. So if you are interested in voiceovers, there will be a link in the description below. you might even get a discount. Who knows? Make sure you check it out. Once again, huge shout out to Artlist for sponsoring today's video. Now moving on to our final style of POV shot in this video, and this one might actually surprise you because it doesn't require any kind of mount or anything like that, which is why actually it's my favorite, and you still get the most unique angle out of everything I'm going to show you today, and it has to do everything with how tiny this camera is. Now recently I created a video for Havoc Chips for one of their marketing campaigns, and I actually filmed it with this camera, which a lot of people will find surprising, and that's all thanks to the new 4K sensor and the upped quality. Now because it's so small, you're able to get it in some really unique spaces, like literally inside of a chip bag. So for that video, what I did was that I put the camera inside the chip bag, and then I was able to open the bag and basically show my face once the bag opened, and be it from the perspective of what it would be like to be inside a bag of chips, which I think is really cool and really hard to do with a full-size camera. So if I want to do that with my Canon R5C, which is what I'm filming on right now, I would have had to empty this bag of chips, I would have had to make a hole in the bottom, I would have had to stick the camera lens through that hole, then close it from the top, and then open it. This just saves me so much time to get a complicated shot like that. And one of the coolest ways that I think that you can take advantage of this camera, which I like to call is hand POV. So I don't know, your hand's point of view. So what you do is you basically take the camera and you put it in between your fingers like this. So hopefully you guys can see that. And now you're able to reach for things and do things with your hands. So you could even be like typing, or like what I did in the commercial for Havoc is I went and I grabbed a couple of chips from the bowl and then I ate it and I put it in my mouth. And that's just an angle that's really impossible to get with any other type of camera. And because, again, I hate to keep harping on this, but because this camera is now 4K and it's so small, you finally get amazing video quality with the advantage of using a camera this small. But yeah, those are my 3 favorite POV styles that you can do with the brand new Insta360 GO 3S. So if you get this camera, definitely try it out. I think that this is really what sets this camera apart, and the whole reason that you would buy one, and the reason that I think that it deserves to be called the ultimate POV camera. Anyways, that's it for this video. Hope you guys learned something new. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, keep creating.